am Ken Walker, and over the past couple years I've written a couple books pertaining to the Miramichi area, one being Denis and the Miramichi, both in English and French, and the other one is mainly about Charles de Boishébert and what happened here in the 1700s. I'm not from the area, and when I came here, I knew nothing about this. I lived in the southern part of the province and quite honestly never came north. When I moved here, it was interesting to listen to the stories about the indigenous peoples, and then the French, the Acadians, the Scots, waves of immigration. I'm not a lover of the 21st century nor the 20th century, and I've lived in both now. So I think in some sense I'm a romantic, nostalgic person, looking to the past as being some kind of golden age, which I know it wasn't. It was brutal. It was hard. But there was something about, and I get that every time I'm on the island or walking through the woods, this freedom of being able to just keep walking on whatever trail I want to walk. And that's the way I see these people. When I started doing research, I found them to be fascinating. The Denis family, both Nicolas the father and Richard the son, they should be mandatory learning in schools. I look at Nicolas as literally being the godfather of Acadia, and Richard, of course, being right here with his trading post. These people were bringing European technology, culture, thought to the Mi'kmaq who were here. It helped them in one sense, and it changed their way of living in another sense, and I think that was also negative. But the whole idea was to understand what these people had to go through and why. And a lot of the questions that I don't know if they'll be answered, because every time I learned something, another question came about. Boishébert led a fascinating life. Born in Quebec City, died in France, and lived his life in l'Acadie. At 25, he'd lived a life more than people who would probably live 300 years. And yet, how many people know about him? Is he taught in the schools? Both of these families should be in the schools so that the kids of New Brunswick should know. And it's not just the French or the Acadians or any. I feel as an outsider, even to the province, that this is my history now because I live here. I live the life I live because of what these people did. And that's what fascinated me about it, and how they endured, how they put up with struggles that most of us today would never even contemplate. The other thing too is being here on the Miramichi, especially on the island and the surrounding areas, knowing what may have taken place, is fascinating because I've done that in other places. I remember living in Saskatchewan and being in Batoche, where the rebellion of 1885 took place under Louis Riel. And I was in a rifle pit, and I'm looking around, at the fields and stuff, and imagining horses, cannon fire, rifle fire, people dying and what have you. Horrible just to kind of put yourself in that situation. I did the same thing in Gettysburg. Very nice national park, but in 3 days, 50,000 people were slaughtered. Little Bighorn. I stood looking at Custer's grave and his brother's grave almost next to him and all the other graves, and imagining these people being, we have this thing about, they were clubbed with tomahawks. The Sioux Nation had repeating rifles. The 7th Cavalry had single shots. Guess who won? And again, but you see the slaughter and you're standing there in its midst. So being on the island and being in the area around it, I'm standing in the midst of history. And these are the names and the people who were living lives. This is what they did, creating history. I found that fascinating. Like I said, one of the problems is that there's limited resources out there. There are some books with, I mean, even like Esther Wright has a book on the Miramichi. She does have one chapter on Richard Denis, but it's brief. A little bit on Boishebert, brief. But it's the next stage. One of the things I learned too, living south in the province, is there is in people's minds the sense that we live in the Loyalist province, as if nothing took place here before 1784. No, these people were here long before 1784, and the Mi'kmaq and the Maliseet were here longer before. We're newcomers. The Scots are newcomers. I'm one of them. This is the thing. We don't realize how far our history goes back, and yet how much of it is taught to unite us, because it's our common history. The problem is, too, is what is history? And I remember dealing with this in university. History tends to be written from the winner's point of view. Leaves a lot out from the people who lost. And the problem is, I go out and do a bunch of research, but I bring my bias into this. I have my point of view, and I'm going to choose and pick what I think is important, not everything. So what's in these books is more about how I see it than what actually took place. Then there's the reader's point of view. Somebody picks up this book and they may agree, they may disagree, because they have their point of view. So it's kind of hard when you look at history to say, did this happen? Maybe things that we don't know that happened. When these people recorded their lives, they had a bias, and they bring this in. I'm recording it as if it really happened then, and then I'm taking my point of view out of that. So bear that in mind when you look at history or anything else, quite honestly. We're looking at something from a long time ago, and we're asking questions of, how does it affect us now? Does it affect us now? And if it does, what kind of meaning do we place on it? I have found these people to be incredibly important, because I don't have any other word that can really describe it. They were fascinating. I would have loved to have been with them just to see what they were doing, because to me they were living authentic lives in a way we're not today. Every day for them was survival. They had their reasons. They wanted to make money, yeah, they wanted to be important or whatever, sure. But again, bear in mind, I'm a romantic and a nostalgic. So that's my bias even there. However, two things. Come and buy the books, see what you think. Come to the island, see what you think. Either way.